Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here, and today we're going to be looking at Tales of the Teen Titans Annual 3. This is the finale of the Judas contract. This is a dollar reprint from DC Comics, but what I love about it is it's printed on better paper than it was originally. This is the finale to the Judas contract, like one of the most famous Teen Titans stories ever. I was a huge Titans fan. I still am. Love Wolfman and Perez's run. This is inked by Mike DiCarlo and Dick Giordano, and I cannot stand the inks on this. I think that they could have been worse, but I just think of such an important. I mean, George did not phone in the pencils here, so I think, well, they're called finishers, so maybe he did do just breakdowns or whatever, but I don't know. This just doesn't really smack of like if George had inked it himself. Like these little repetitive lines. I'm being so critical already, but like, uh, look at this great mechanism. This is like super giving me super Kirby vibes. The Titans have been infiltrated by Terra. She was a traitor the whole time for working with Terminator, who she's 16 and he's like 50 and they're having an affair, so that's pretty gross. But this is like the classic favorite lineup of characters: Raven, Donna Troy, Wonder Girl in her best costume ever. I love that costume. Um, I think that's pretty much a Perez finish on like her, you know. I think her other one had more stars in it and less cleavage, but I just love that red jumpsuit. I think there are just some costume designs that are perfect, and that's one of them in my eyes. I love Coriander. Starfire is one of my favorite characters. This is such a good memory for me. I love the Titans so much. Um, so many great faces. I mean, George Perez by this point just had them down perfectly. I mean, Raven had small boobs. Wonder Girl had big boobs. Cray had even bigger boobs. Corey's eyes were distinctively round, and they look like they're how they're supposed to. They act like how they're supposed to. It's funny. Here comes Terra after she screwed everyone over, and the way that she's letting you know that is by wearing earrings and smoking a cigarette, because that's what a bad girl would do, and someone who's basically a traitor and a Judas. And this is cool. Here's, I guess this is Nightwing and Jericho. This is pretty much right after Nightwing debuted, Disco Nightwing. Dick Grayson dropped the mantle of Robin and adopted Nightwing, which like was one of the cooler moves in comic books. Um, but they're battling Hydra, or there's Jericho's mom, Adeline Wilson, some wartime flashbacks, or army, or whatever. There's Slade Wilson, the Terminator. That's a cool looking costume. I guess that's before he lost his eye, obviously. His son Jericho. I mean, it's so funny because, just at the time I would have, taken anything that you give me as far as the Titans are concerned. And that includes Jericho with his mutton chops and his perm and his, I don't know, whatever, peasant blouse or whatever the hell you want to call it. But I mean, I think he got a bad end. Didn't he turn evil and somebody killed him? That's a good shot at Terra. I'm not saying that Dick Giordano and Mike DiCarlo are bad anchors. I just think they're not the most flattering when it comes to George Perez's highly detailed art. I just think he does better from when he's inking himself. Let's face it. I don't like anyone else who ever inked him. Romeo Tanghal did a good job. I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions. I don't think Terry Austin would have necessarily been the best anchor for him at this point. Although Terry Austin's the best anchor for anybody at any point. This is such a great shot here. I remember for a while when we were young, we lived in Las Vegas, long story, for about 5 years. And there was this comic book store, and they always would put like art in the window, but they would like project it and blow it up. And this is one of the images they did. And as a huge Titans fan, like I freaked out, and I loved that they did that. And if that shop was called Page After Page. And I wonder if it's still there and if they still do stuff like that, because that is a fun memory. If you live in Vegas and you're watching and you know what I'm talking about, please feel free to comment. So this was so epic. Like, she was so nuts and so, like, far gone. Like, they, you know, who wouldn't want to be a Teen Titan? Oh my god, like, the most awesome friends. Your boyfriend's changeling. I mean, he can turn into a green elephant, for crying out loud. And, or you can have some creepy old man with one eye who likes to murder teenagers. I mean, WTF, people. But, I mean, this is when they, so basically, this is like when the Titans annuals were saved for like big conclusions to their stories. Titans Annual 1 was the conclusion to the Blackfire, Starfire's sister. Titans Annual 2 was the conclusion to like the Runaways, and I think it was the debut of the Vigilante, who was such a cool character, Adrian Chase. And there's Terra just flipping out with her buck teeth and her cigarette and her makeup, and she buries herself. It was very sad. So they tried to save her, but it was too late. And her poor brother, Geo-Force, Brian Markov. I thought that was cool how they did that. It's because of that Titans crossover that I started reading Batman and the Outsiders. So it was very smart of them to do that. Got a lifelong fan out of me. Anyway, here lies a traitor to the Titans, and we're going to pretend like she wasn't and do a big statue to her and rewrite history. Oh, well, that's sad. But this is, like, seriously one of the greatest stories, the Judas Contract. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Wolfman Perez, the Titans. Anyway, such a great story. I love this cover, too. See, this is what I'm talking about, the inking. Like, this is Perez inking himself, and just, like, note the difference. Like, I know, there's not enough time to ink like that all the time. But anyway, subscribe to my channel, hit like, I super appreciate it. Thanks, guys, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye.